everybody! Today I am going to tell you the stories of various scars that I have collected over the years. Before I start talking about these injuries, I want to just warn you that if you are a person like me who gets sort of like squeamish around like talking about like any sort of like injury, then it might not be the best video for you to watch. I wouldn't normally do this sort of video, but I just sort of wanted to document these stories because some of them are sort of unique, so they might be sort of interesting to talk about on my channel. So the first story this is the most visible one. I don't know if you can really tell that well on the camera, but it's right here, and it's just like a little sort of like indent is what it looks like on my forehead. So this happened in, I guess it would have been around 2nd or 3rd grade. You know how there were those tether balls where it would be on a pole and then you'd have like the ball attached to the pole on a string and it would like swing around and you would try to like, there'd be 2 people playing and you try to hit it back and forth until one of you got it wrapped all the way around. At my elementary school, sometimes kids would take the chain with the ball off of the pole and like spin around and swing it so that people had to jump over it every time it went around, and that wasn't really a smart idea. One kid, I'm not going to name names, was swinging the tether ball around and the kids were jumping over it. I walked by, the ball went a little higher and it hit me in the head. I had a metal barrette in and it hit just right so that the barrette went into my head. It was just a little spot, but it felt like the whole side of my face was just like gone. Like that's the only way I can think to describe it. It just felt like numb and weird and like the whole half of my face. Lucky for me, my mom was a substitute teacher for a while and she was out on the playground doing like playground duty, watching over all of the children. We went to the hospital and they're like, you might need stitches, but then they decided that I wasn't going to need stitches, so they just put glue in my head and then they just held it there for like a minute, and I remember it was like the longest minute of my life. Story number 2. This one is on my pinky. On the like tennis courts at my middle school, there were a ton of like thorns and like bushes and things. If you biked through there, your tire would go flat, and so people never biked through there. I don't know why people would bike through there. Anyway, so there was a little like goat head. It poked into my finger and I went to like pull it out and I pulled it straight out. I was like, I just have to get this over with, I'm just gonna yank it out. And it turned out it wasn't in straight, it was in sideways. So I pulled the whole thing up and it like ripped that part of my skin. Oh, it was not pleasant. It healed pretty fast, but there's still a scar, so. Story number 3. This one is a little less exciting of a story, but it has a thing that goes along with it that I can like talk about. Basically, I had a thing in my wrist. They thought it was like a pencil, like a piece of pencil lead or something, but I didn't remember ever like accidentally like stabbing myself with a pencil. It turned out to be like a blue Nova mole or something, but they removed it before they knew what it was, where they like numb your skin and they like have a little cookie cutter tool and they take it out. And while they were doing it, like I didn't feel it very much. Like I kind of felt their hands, like I knew something was going on, but I couldn't feel my skin where they were like poking at it because it was numb. But like I think it's like vasovagal. I'm gonna Google it so that I say it right. I still don't know how to pronounce it, but like vasovagal response is basically what it was. My whole body started like shaking, like when you like shiver from the cold, and I just started going like pale and like feeling really weird, and they didn't know at first. Like my mom thought I might be like going into shock or something, but it was just like a vasovagal thing. And I talked to my doctor about it, and apparently it can just happen. The things that I've heard and my own theories have all kind of jumbled in my head, so I'm not sure like clinically like what exactly triggers it, and I'm not sure if people really know, but it's like sort of something with like the nervous system, a drop of like heart rate and blood pressure and different things like that. And you can like set it off yourself, I think, by just kind of like thinking about something in a certain way or like feeling a certain way about something, and you don't really like, you can't really control it, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you can maybe learn to like avoid that if it happens to you a lot. This says it's like a reflex of the involuntary nervous system. I don't know, don't quote me on any of this, you can just Google it if you're interested. I think it can lead to like fainting and stuff, which I have fainted before. I have serious issues when it comes to like medical procedures. I have to like lay down now. I fainted when I got my like finger pricked a couple times, and I threw up when I got my ears pierced. Like any like sharp or like pointed pain, like puncture wounds and stuff, I get really woozy and weird about it, and like I have weird reactions to stuff. Yeah. Next one I'm going to talk about is on my ankle. Well, like it's like your shin, like the bottom of my shin. Again, I'm not naming names, but we were playing like the ultimate frisbee. Is that a thing, ultimate frisbee, or am I just saying that word in making a fool out of myself. I just have my Google up and I'm just checking everything. Yeah, ultimate frisbee is a thing. So we were doing that in my middle school in like 6th grade, and we did it for like 3 weeks in a row, and I got really bored of it really fast. And one day we were practicing our frisbee throws, and people were like throwing it back and forth, so we all got in pairs. Someone like 3 or 4 pairs down chucked a frisbee, and it like went to the side, and it hit me really hard in the shin. And the plastic on a lot of the frisbees was all melted or like really old, or like kind of like had sharp ends from where it kind of like broken and stuff, so they weren't the best frisbees to be practicing frisbee throws with. It was like bruised and cut and like scraped sort of all at the same time, and I made the mistake of like going to the bathroom alone to like wipe it off and like put pressure on it or whatever, and that was probably not smart. I didn't faint or anything, thank goodness, but that could have been really bad. So if you're someone who like has hard, or any time you get injured, don't go to the bathroom by yourself. Ask someone to go with you or go to the nurse or something. Learn from my mistakes. For a while it was like sort of, when I pushed on it, it was like clicking back and forth, so we were worried like the bone had like chipped really slightly or something, and it hurt really bad. But it's all fine now. We procrastinated going to the doctor so long that it just doesn't click anymore, so who knows. I don't know if you can see it from there, can you? I'll just kind of... If you can't see it, just trust me, it is there. Okay, the last story I'm going to tell you is the one on the bottom of my left foot. So first I'm going to just give you some background knowledge. My parents bought a trapeze for our basement at one point, and it was in the room outside of the Uncle Book Nook. So we like secured the base of it to the ceiling, and then it was like on a chain, and then it was like a little like rope and then like a little bar. And I had the genius idea to add more chain to it so that I could sit on it. At one point it was like a like really makeshift like guest bedroom, so we had like a little single bed, or maybe that was just kind of storage because we didn't know where to put the bed and we didn't want to sell it yet. There was like a single bed in the corner of the room, so I would like sit on the trapeze and back up and like stand on the bed and then like swing off toward the wall, and I normally didn't hit the wall, but there was one time where I swung up especially high and my foot scraped along like one of the little bracket nail things. What do you call them? I don't think it's called like a bracket nail, but that's the only way I can think to describe it, and if you've seen one before, you probably know what I'm talking about. I lost a little perfect rectangle out of the skin on my foot. That was not a great day for me. So gross. So yeah, but then the good part about that was that I couldn't really walk on it without it starting to bleed and me feeling in a lot of pain and very nauseated, so I just wrapped it in gauze and I sat on my couch and I listened through a bunch of Taylor Swift songs, and it was really great. My like 6th grade class, we were all going on like a hike or something that day, and it was like the end of the year field trip, and I know I should feel bad about missing that experience, but honestly, I was really psyched about missing that field trip. I did not particularly want to go on a 6-mile hike with all of my 6th grade classmates, even though there were a lot of great people in that bunch, but I wasn't feeling it. If you have interesting stories of how you got various scars, leave them in the comments below and I would be happy to read them, and we can just sort of commiserate, even though I am actually pretty lucky when it comes to my health. The worst thing I've had to deal with is like TMJ, and like that sucks, but it's still probably not as bad as like breaking a bone, and definitely not as bad as like having some sort of like really awful like disease or condition. Okay, so I know that video was kind of weird, but I hope you enjoyed it to some extent or found it interesting.